Wiz, and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
When you enter a death battle, throw those morals out the window. We're looking for who wins a no-holds-barred fight to the death.
Oh my god, it's Deadpool with a gun!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my arena, where there's no rules, no research, only bloodshed. Let me welcome you to the exhibition!
Hi, welcome to the Death Battle Cast.
That came in and we were just like, holy shit.
You get to try new shit. Like,
We did this one with puppets and everyone would be like,
I just want to know who wins.
The sun is just out of it now.
yeah, sun's out.
It's the sun, Chad.
But he can just get crunchitized.
I don't know about that.
Now he might go blind.
Hey, welcome to the Death Battle panel. Oh my gosh. Woo! It's so good to be here and have this going on.
hello.
Hello.
We got a bunch of people who work on Death Battle here today. We're very excited to talk about what's coming up with Death Battle, what's coming up down the line with Death Battle. You may have seen a little clip of a guy, a live action fighter in that previous video. We might show a little bit more of that. We got a ton of stuff to show. It's going to be exciting. I am Ben. I created Death Battle almost 10 years ago at this point, which is
old,
crazy. And I'm the voice of Wiz in the show. And over here,
Luis, lead animator for Death Battle. Hello.
that's Luis.
Hey, I'm Chad. I voice Boomstick and have been around since the beginning of Death Battle.
Now is it me? I'll
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yes.
Hey, I didn't know if you were going clockwise or not. I'm Sam.
We went over this like 20 minutes
a little while
ago.
ago. I was fiddling with my new light. I can make it bright. See? Yeah. Hey, I'm Sam. I'm a producer here at Death Battle and other Rooster Teeth animated projects.
And has written many Death Battles in the past.
Yes, I've been here for 9 of those 10 years. As of next month, actually, next month is 9 years.
Liam's all ready to go.
I was ready to go. I'm Liam.
cut you
I
off.
know the order. I'm Liam, and I am a writer for Death Battle.
And I'm Josh. Sometimes I edit, sometimes I write, and sometimes I direct Death Battle. It depends on the week.
Say this all the time.
And if you guys were here for first night, you probably saw Josh talking about RVB 0.
Did a little bit on that too. Yeah.
Lots of hype.
Very exciting.
If you have not seen the trailer for RVB 0 yet, you really should.
Check it out.
I made a post on Twitter about like how Torian is directing this year's RVB, and if you've ever looked at one of Torian's fights, like All Might versus Might guy, or you know, a vast majority of our 3D fights, and you said, "Man, that looks dope," you owe it to yourself to check out the new RVB season.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not here to talk about
You
RVB.
can- Yeah.
We're here to talk about
It's
Death
very
Battle.
Torian.
Speaking of which, so obviously this is RTX at home. It's a little different. We're all doing this virtually, but we've had this tradition since we first started doing conventions that, you know, obviously the line in Death Battle is it's time for a Death Battle. And I always like to start our panels off by it's time for a death panel. And so I'm gonna do it, and in the chat, if you would like to say it with me, normally it's better when the whole room does it and I can hear it, so I'm just gonna pretend that you're all screaming this at the top of your lungs.
Feel
okay?
free to do it at home, but if you've got neighbors right or you know on the other side of the wall, maybe like whisper it. Whispers.
I can hear voices.
They might take it as a threat.
Also, I'm
you
gonna
know.
pull my mic back a bit because I'm not set to boomstick levels. But let's
back
do
up.
it. All right, so 3,
Let's do
2,
this thing.
1. It's time for a death panel. All right.
Wow, we All right.
Hope I didn't peek. Sorry, Mike, if I did.
You
Definitely did.
No, I didn't hear
We
any
don't
of
need
that.
One hundo.
I didn't warn. I just realized Mike, who's our broadcast audio engineer, is also TDing this right now, and I did not warn him about that at all. So my bad.
Sorry, Mike. But what would it be? What would an RTX panel be without some announcements? And we've got some cool new merch to share, which is crazy. I don't know if we ever get to share new merch on a Death Battle panel. We got a new shirt and new hat, and an old shirt is coming back.
Yes,
That's awesome.
So when the boomstick hat has a long history, because when we first tried to answer a Q&A a million years ago, we realized we couldn't show our characters. So Ben and I lit ourselves as only silhouettes, and I grabbed a trucker hat that happened to be red and white. It was actually a Terry Bogard hat from Final. Oh my God,
Fatal Fury.
Fatal Fury. And then when we were designing Wiz, Ben and I were joking around when we were talking about the characters. We were like, man, I feel like Wiz would have like some sort of like sciencey pun on like a rock t-shirt, you know, like
Wiz is very much a how do you do fellow kids kind of guy.
Yeah.
He thinks he wants to act younger and cooler than he actually is, but he doesn't know how to.
Like, if we were gonna do a live action like rundown, we would try and hire Steve Buscemi. He would be the first. Zero question.
Oh my gosh, fan art, please.
I'm on board. That's
amazing.
So Wiz has this shirt, this rock and roll T-shirt that is a color green that is terrible.
Wait, I can't see who just realized.
Our writer.
Pun Lord himself over here.
You never realized?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like
Amazing.
recycled because he's a scientist.
That's fantastic.
What?
Okay, bud.
Come to the Death Battle panel for the big reveals.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, surprise reveal. It was a rock and roll T-shirt the whole time. It was a terrible pun. Okay, these shirts and hat are on the store right now. They were literally just put on the store. RoosterTeethStore.com. You can go check them out during the panel, after the panel, whenever. But we also have the game coming back. We have released the Death Battle Card and Dice game twice so far, and it has sold out very quickly each time.
so much.
Which is awesome. I still am blown away. In fact, we revealed it, I believe, a year ago at this point, at last RTX,
where we had almost no copies. But
we had a few copies. We had a few early copies in the Rooster Teeth store, and they sold out before we even got to our Death Battle panel, which is crazy.
Amazing.
So
like we didn't get copies of it during RTX. Like, we had the one to show people, and then like none of us actually got copies until the second batch came in.
So the game is coming back. It will be back on the store next week. At least that's when it's slated to. We will definitely keep you guys updated on our social media platforms when it does. So you can get it as soon as you can, just in case it does sell out really fast again. And again, like I know I've said this so many times, but thank you to everybody who supported that project of ours. It was such a shot in the dark, right? Like we just kind of had this idea, like, what if we make a game? And we just sort of did it, and we weren't sure what to expect, and people dig it. It's crazy and it's awesome.
It's a really fun game. Yeah, it's awesome.
We also have another little reveal for you guys. So at the end of last year, as you know, we revealed a slate, a smorgasbord of characters without their opponents, and we have one left for this year. So
it has not been revealed.
It has not been revealed. Coming after Winter Soldier versus Red Hood, it's going to be Krona from Soul Eater versus Venom.
Whoa!
From Marvel, baby.
I feel like we really should have prepped music for that to make that more impactful.
I think it was the perfect amount of
professional
fanfare.
drum roll was fine.
Yeah, it did work. It's fine.
Yeah, we're all really, really excited about this one. It's looking super awesome. I've seen some of the animation so far, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
Luis,
let's talk about that just for a second.
Yeah, Luis and crew have been working on that for a while.
Yeah, we've been at it for about 4 weeks now, and we're pretty much about to wrap up. And it's looking like one of our most complicated fights in terms of all the different actions that happen around. I mean, not as crazy as like Sonic versus Wally, but still on that level.
In terms of like
like
conceptually, yeah.
Conceptually, yeah, exactly. So like we're very excited. All of us are fans of Venom and fans of Krona. So we're super excited to see what you guys think when this comes out right after Red Hood and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and this is also, I believe, our first time bringing a Soul Eater character into Death Battle. Yep. And as somebody who hadn't really watched or read Soul Eater before, wow, that series it's something else. It's cool, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Unique. That's a good way to put it.
And since this is RTX, and we've talked about this on a panel before, and it's good that we're going through Soul Eater, because someday down the line, we've made this announcement before, but if you've never heard it, when early on when we were talking with Monty Ohm, he was a fan of Death Battle, and he was actually a huge inspiration to why Death Battle exists. So it was this weird kind of cool full circle. And I remember he was talking with Ben about like who should Ruby fight. And then Monty was like, I want Ruby to fight Maka. But not now. Like, that was the thing. He wanted the series to progress a lot more. And so that's on the horizon someday. We'll see when it is.
That conversation of ours ended up creating Yang versus Tifa. And, started this beautiful relationship with Rooster Teeth that led to us being absorbed into Rooster Teeth. Hey, we're here.
Actually, the first time we went to RTX he was the one who he gave us a booth, like Death Battle. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah.
Death Battle's first RTX was thanks to Monty, which is really...
You might call it a symbiotic relationship.
Oh, way to go with the tie-ins. That's why we pay you the $1 million. Write them up.
Big brain.
This podcast is brought to you by Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher since 1917. The only steaks as tender and flavorful as these are Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks are perfectly aged, 100% American grain-finished beef for the ultimate in tenderness, juiciness, and flavor. Even when you're far apart, Omaha Steaks brings people together. It's a brand America has loved for over 100 years. The Omaha Steakhouse experience delivers everything you need to enjoy the finest steakhouse dinner in the comfort of your home. Iconic steaks, classic sides, decadent desserts, and more. Every order is flash frozen, vacuum sealed, safely delivered in a cooler with dry ice, and stays ready to cook in the freezer for months. That's all backed by Omaha Steak's unconditional 100% money back guarantee. Going to the grocery store has become such a hassle these days, so skip the crowd, aisles, and masks and have Omaha Steaks ship all your foods safely to your doorstep. That's the world's greatest steaks, plus premium meats, easy meals, everything you need to ensure your family is stocked up for the long haul. All backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. Go to www.omahasteaks.com and enter DBC in the search bar for exclusive offers.
All right. So, guys, 2020 has been obviously a wild year. A lot of us wish it was just over and done with and we can move on. But it's like Death Battle 2020, despite
kicking
all
ass.
The chaos, has been kicking ass.
Yeah.
Things have been going so well.
Trending. It's good.
And that's all thanks to you guys. So thank you so much for watching.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's thanks to you guys for watching, for getting it trending, and also just keeping the show, getting it views, because we obviously can't make the show if you guys aren't watching. But like the teams that have been working on, the animation teams, both for the host animations, the battles, the writing staff, the editor staff, the research crew had to crank out so many episodes in a much shorter amount of time in order to deal with not only the 20 episode season, but also COVID showing up and deciding, hey, I'm gonna F up your world. So everything at the beginning of the year when all this went down, I think everybody was really worried, like, does this mean we're going to have to like cut the season short, or are we going to have to like make some sacrifices, right? And no, like everything has been going obviously slower and more tedious because of the problems, but great overall. And I'm so proud of these guys for making this work. It's been an interesting year seeing how Death Battle and Rooster Teeth overall has been able to evolve and work with itself to fit these crazy times.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you're only seeing a very small portion of the team. That's been the craziest thing about like, you know, we were part of Rooster Teeth before, but we moved down 3 years ago, a little over 3 years, and the what this thing has become, like from it used to be Ben and I remember even when we just had more writers, when like Nick was writing on it with us, and like, and then Sam was writing on it, and like Austin was that came in and was helping, and like, and then it like that was like a mind-blowing, like, whoa, this is like a big thing now, we have so much more help, and like to what it is now, and being able to utilize like just the unification of the animation studio and the way we all work together, and it's like just absolutely mind-blowing.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that and how Death Battle has evolved. So for the longest time, back in the Screw Attack days, even in the early Rooster Teeth days, Death Battle was basically just its own team in its own room doing its own thing, right? For the longest time, that's how Death Battle was treated, was built, and it worked. But you know, we were all just kind of doing our own thing. Well, as some of you know, Rooster Teeth has gone through a lot of changes. And the animation team in particular has all kind of come together. And this year has been, there have been a lot of changes and improvements to the animation team overall. And one of those is us, Death Battle, getting further integrated into the animation team overall, which is how we've been having episodes like Genos War Machine, Deadpool Mask, coming out on a semi-regular basis, and working with the rest of the animation team for Wiz and Boomstick, their models, their animation. You might notice the animation for Wiz and Boomstick is leaps and bounds more complex than it was the year before, because we have a much larger animation staff to work on it in-house with us, which is awesome. Like we've been able to reach out to more writers. Liam has been writing for a little bit, but we've got Liam writing, Josh writing, Genevieve, Lousy, Ultra Guy, both from the research staff, which has been fantastic. We've been brought on some new researchers as well. We've got, it's been so cool just seeing, because like, I don't know, for the longest time, I looked at Death Battle as just, it's a silly little cheap YouTube show. But we've kind of become
Not anymore.
like a cornerstone of Rooster Teeth to a certain extent. Like we're always on the main page.
It's a big old family.
Even a little bit more than that. Like we're like a YouTube staple kind of thing. Like we're a YouTube show. Like when people think of YouTube shows, we might be on that list.
Sure, I don't want this to sound like we're like, oh,
no,
we're big boys now or something like that.
The weirdest moment for me was when Death Battle changed, when it became a part of someone's vocabulary, not necessarily meaning I want this matchup on a show. And by that I mean, somebody say like, hey, who do you think would win a death battle between this and this? And they weren't like saying like, oh, they should do a death battle. Like that was now terminology for a versus matchup. And that was crazy to me.
It's pretty cool.
Like when you become verbiage, like that's wild. We changed language, and that's all thanks to you guys. So again, man, crazy.
I don't know how to segue from that, but we've got going back to the writers. Liam, you got to work on a unique show this past year, as we finally made Death Race. A concept we've talked about for a while, and then we just kind of ended up doing it. And Sam, you also helped out. And then we got Devil Artemis, who's done a few Source Filmmaker animation fights to work on it, and bringing that whole team together just to see if it could work and see what we would do. And when we started it, Liam, if you remember, we weren't really sure whether or not it should be like...
There was no like concrete format, which was the fun of being able to write for it, is that I could make the format, and we could all make it together. And that gave me a lot of freedom while I was writing it to just go wild with whatever I wanted it to be. Like the end result was different, I think, than what we intended, only because we didn't have this clear intention in mind.
The idea evolved as we went.
Yeah, you would have like if I would have been like tasked with writing Death Race, I would have done such a straight, like, I'm so glad you got it, because yours was fucking so memey and off the rails and funny. Like, I would have just been like, well, let's look at it like a death battle. And you were like, no, how do we troll everybody who's watching the show without doing it? And like, that was such a better option. It was such a good idea. Like, it was a lot of fun.
I loved it.
Well, that was also an example of creativity through limitation in a way.
Yes.
Because we had to go through Source Filmmaker. And
AKA Death Battle.
yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I guess every episode of Death Battle is a little bit like that. But in this one in particular, it was like, well, if we're going to go through Source Filmmaker and we don't necessarily have a massive budget for this show, but we want to make it fun, we need to make sure that we can get vehicles that we can make a fun, like, either story or analysis around, whatever direction we're going to go with this. And so we were kind of limited to what Source Filmmaker could do and use, but that ended up leading to Thomas the Tank Engine showing up.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Thank God.
Yeah.
That was I really wanted that in there. I was like, please, it just gotta happen. I gotta see Thomas the Tank Engine breathe fire.
Oh man. And also related to Liam, but Josh as well. So Josh is going to be directing, or has been directing, 2 episodes for this year. The episodes have not been announced yet, so unfortunately we can't talk too much about it. But Josh, I know you're super excited about those coming out.
Yes, I want to be able to talk about it. I can't wait for y'all to find out what the matchups are. They're both 2 really awesome and exciting fights. It's gonna be really cool, and it's been so fun to direct. Like, more fun than I even thought it would be. Like, it's been awesome because when I've spent the majority of my time in Death Battle editing, and when you're editing Death Battle, you primarily work with Ben, the director. But now, as a director myself, I get to work with so many other parts of the team that I never really got to interact with very much, like the animators, with the editors. I'm really looking forward to working with sound when we get to that point. Like, it's been so cool because we have assembled an incredible team. Like we've mentioned, assimilating with Rooster Teeth means we get to work with incredible Rooster Teeth artists. So I'm having a blast, and I'm looking forward to directing more.
And Joss especially, like, what? Recorded by Arizal, RVB0, Death Battle in all its different ways. I'm just giving you shout outs.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take
I want to embarrass you.
Because he's not even just directing, he's also writing Winter Soldier versus Red Hood, which, you saw a little bit at the beginning of the panel.
We might see some more.
He wrote that episode. And actually, if you stick around, you might see a little bit more later on in this panel.
So you should
maybe a little bit more than just a little bit more. We'll see.
Liam's very excited.
I could not put my eyes up any larger.
It's a fantastic episode. I can't wait for you guys to see it. But Liam, also writer, is his role is expanding as well. Liam you've kind of made a name for yourself among, I think, the fan base as like, I don't know, a researcher who's just like is willing to really dive in to
nobody can destroy an argument like Liam can.
Yes.
The mountains upon mountains of links I build up over time that I can just go, but what about this one? And I scroll through 70 pages and go, yeah.
Well, it's also your memory, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that's what blows me away because Ben and I have done this forever, and like I can't tell you how many times somebody come up to us at like a convention, they're like, in this fight you said this specific thing, and like I don't know if that's necessarily true. What was your argument at that time? And it's just like I don't know, dude.
I
That
can
was
still
like
answer
a year
questions
ago
about Ben 10 versus Green Lantern. I still have the information in there.
Right. And you're just like, what I meant by that was in comic panel like 74 in the middle of the page, like
Gerardo.
Yeah, exactly.
So Liam, we've been incredibly impressed with Liam's not only ability for the research and analysis portion, but also just he's got a creative mind. You're like a theater guy, and you've been doing this sort of thing for a long time. So he will also be directing next year, which is gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be awesome.
So exciting.
I'm so happy to bring more people in on so many different aspects of the show, get different voices in, and because like we have different voices like with the writing already and the research as well, but getting different opinions on these characters I think is super important, and having different ideas of how to present them in the Death Battle as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Death Battle, evolves over the next few years. I feel like I've said the word evolve like 20 times this one panel, but that's kind of what we've been doing, I guess.
That's the theme. That's the theme around Death Battle.
Death Battle Evolution.
Yeah, I'm about to say our new movie coming out.
I love it.
Let's not.
Let's not reference that.
No, let's not go Evolution.
Yeah, DBE. It doesn't match any other movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. One last thing I do want to say before we move on to the next section. We've been getting some questions about like, what are you going to do when we get to December? Because we are approaching 10 years of Death Battle. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I've been doing for the past decade. This is crazy. 10 years of Death Battle. Death Battle is going to be 10 years old. December 6th. That's when Boba Fett versus Samus Aran, the very first Death Battle, aired so many years ago, and I was so excited when I animated Samus's
perspective change,
screw jump, like blurring out, and then it was like, oh look, it's like a death in an animation. Yeah.
I love telling that story because you gathered everyone in the office. You ran around and made everybody come, and we all gathered around. This, whatever that POS Mac you had at the time was.
Oh, dude, it was early Death Battle was all on a MacBook. Like a cheap ass MacBook, and it died because of Death Battle. All right, so what are we doing for the 10-year anniversary? Right, we got to be doing something special. So I've been asked, like, is there going to be some special like 10th anniversary episode or something? And we do have a really cool season finale planned. We've been working with Melanie Stern. Actually, has been the animation director for a fantastic final episode. Liam is also the writer for that.
So good. Oh my god.
Man, we've been working on that since like the beginning of the year. It's going to be a really cool season finale. However, that episode is not the anniversary episode. No. Instead, what we're going to do is next season of Death Battle is going to be a 10th anniversary season. We're going to be spending the entire year celebrating how long this show has somehow survived. And the idea behind it is there have been so many requests from you guys. So many requests over the years, big matchups, small matchups that have a lot of history behind those requests. So what I would like to do, what the plan is to make a season that is entirely filled up of matchups that have a history behind them. Really popular matchups, crazy matchups we've joked about on the show before. We're going to do them. Let's do it. So that's what the plan is for next year, for season 8, the 10th anniversary season of Death Battle. Unfortunately, it's not season 10. That would be perfect, but whatever. Just make it confusing. So next year is the 10th anniversary season, and we're going to go all out as much as we can. It's going to be super exciting. And we got some crazy cool matchups planned. I'm so hyped to share them with you guys. But that's the plan. Thank you to everybody who has stuck with us for 10 years.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Like every time, like the views the show gets, the time we're trending on YouTube, we're always just like, this is insane.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's all because of you guys. Thank you so much for sharing it with your friends and watching the show and talking about it and having arguments about it. And some people placing bets, though I can't legally condone that.
I mean,
but thank you guys.
If y'all have like an underground bookie, I can't bet. Shit, I wanted to get on this gambling. I have insider information. Damn.
You would know.
You know.
I know. I just realized. I love it.
Or you can make bets that are wrong intentionally, and then you like trick everybody into thinking to bet with you.
Tip the scales.
Some videos and also ask questions on Twitter. We also have the chat open if you're watching this live. We can be looking at the chat as well, but we have plenty of questions to get to, so I don't know how much we'll be able to get to from each section, but we do want to get through all the videos first. So let's go ahead and start with the video question from Sean.
Hi, Death Battle. Quick question. I was always curious, what's the process for making the music to your fights? Because they are really, really nice nowadays. Much love from Pennsylvania, and thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Oh, much love to you
I appreciate
too.
keeping us safe with your mask on strategy.
Yes.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we do appreciate the encouraging mask usage. Is that some music we got in the background?
It is.
Yes.
Oh, there. Okay. I was worried I was the only one hearing
that.
it. I was really, really scared for a second.
You guys hear that too?
All right, Ben. Ben, can I kick this answer off with some real truth?
Real true.
Well, you hit a point where your show has become big enough, or your company has become big enough, and YouTube regulations and things like that prevent you from shamelessly using copywritten music. And once you hit that point, you could either use some stock music, or you could reach out to some amazingly talented artists or people that we knew through friends of friends or however it came about, and create our own custom track. Is it a little bit more expensive? Yes. But is it worth it as opposed to doing stock music? Absolutely. And it has been so awesome to work with these guys who have put this together.
Yeah, this song, Wings of Iron, that you hear, I lived with the singer of this song for years, and so it was just like we called them up, and like Werewolf is the name of the band, and they've done tons of music for us, and yeah, we have a few other go-to composers that we've been using for years now. And yeah, that's the way it goes. Also, talk to musicians. That's how you get it done, though. It's like ask a musician. Because if you're like us, we don't know shit about music. So call some people that know shit about music and be like, "Yo, what's up with this music stuff? Notes? Crazy, right?" Like,
I think the
about
most
the process, because the question is specifically about the process.
Yeah.
And we have known, so Aaron, Brandon, Omega Sparks, those are kind of our three go-tos now. We definitely have some other people who come in every so often, as well as the others. Will reach out and work with other people, like Swats has worked with Omega Sparks. Brandon Yates has reached out to all sorts of like music YouTubers, which is cool. Aaron has a whole band that he pulls from. It's awesome. So we got all sorts of people with all sorts of different skill sets. And the general process is I like to give the musicians a lot of creative freedom when it comes to how to build the track specifically. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, we do want to make sure it represents the characters. So whether that is including little motifs from the characters, like shows or movies or whatnot. So you hear like the Justice League theme a little bit whenever like a Justice League character might be on screen or something like that. And or something that sounds similar to it, so that we can at least get that sort of same vibe, same feel from the music that we get by looking at those characters. And then we just kind of we give them an animatic or the full animation if it's done, and then we just let the musician kind of go, and they'll do their thing, come back with the first draft. We'll give whatever notes we have. Usually it's not that much, and then they'll wrap it all up, and that's the general process.
It's always so cool to see too, like the way that in one track both characters can be represented with like nostalgic muses from their music from their franchise. It's just like every time we get that in, it's so cool to us because we hear it, we're like, oh, I recognize that like little, oh, I see what that's a nod to, like, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, and even having like especially with like, because I remember Kenshiro Joestar, like it was just like, hey, I want like the Saxy, thing from like Bizarre Adventure, and then also this like it's the 80s and it's cool as hell from like Kenshiro. And then like that was literally like, I think it was Josh, I was working with Josh on it and Genevieve at the time, and probably Luis as well, and it was just like that's literally what we sent to Aaron. We were just like, this vague shit of mix the two things we like from these shows together. And then the first track he sent back we used because it was so good. It was just like, all right, perfect. Like it really is just kind of like the rest of the show. Represent the characters well, and you usually get a good product.
The crazy part about it is how they implement both shows, both characters into one track without sounding like off-putting. Like, like everything just kind of meshed together really well. Yeah. And they usually just do that in the first draft. Like it's like, like they're really talented. They're really really good at what they
Red
do,
Ranger is like one where they just excellently here, we're just gonna sew both these projects together and just like boom, here you go, it's excellent, right?
That's a fun one for sure.
And I think that like that's one of the things that's very, very Death Battle. It's something we've always done with working with our animators, which is like, hey, here's like kind of what we're thinking, and here's some things that we specifically want to highlight, but then also like, animation better than we do, music composition better than we do, so like put your creativity into it. And that's why I think we get so many just really cool fights and really cool tracks, because they get to stretch their wings and do their stuff.
It has always been a priority for me with Death Battle to make sure that people who are creative and skilled in their field have as much freedom as possible to do what they want, because I feel like, in certain shows, especially narrative shows, there's always like a very specific sort of narrative purpose for every moment or whatnot that's building upon other narrative moments and so on. But Death Battle doesn't really do that. We're just kind of one and done with each episode. So we can just go all out and do some weird stuff if we want, and it's totally fine. It's not going to affect the next episode or whatever plot point appeared in the previous episode. So I love being able to just give people freedom. And on that point, with having to do it because of YouTube or whatnot, we did have custom music before that. It has been something for battles in particular. It has been something that we've wanted to do for a very long time. Yeah. So we have worked with people in the past, like Nate Wants to Battle. Did a track for Power Rangers versus Voltron, which is awesome.
Oh, was it?
Or sorry, no, I'm getting mixed up. That was Brandon Yates who did that one. He did Pokemon versus Digimon. Right. Yeah, so we've done it beforehand, but that just kind of gave us the excuse to just do it all the time, which I love. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the next question from Jackson.
Do you ever think you'll include any more obscure media or franchises in Death Battle, like Elfen Lied, Bucky O'Hare, and to a lesser extent Berserk? Because I really want to see more of those in the future, if that's possible.
Yes.
Those are all me!
I love Berserk so much. Oh my god.
So basically, the question is, are we gonna give Chad more opportunities to come up with matchups?
It's funny because it's like, you know, like when Ben and I talk, and when like, you know, we're planning like a season and stuff like that. It's now a bigger process, but the way it always was is just like, okay, you know, we want to see, like, we see a lot of comments about this. We want to obviously like serve like what the popular request is. We're gonna do that. Okay, now what are some other suggestions we've seen that we think is like, oh, that's like maybe not the most popular, but like that's a really good matchup and that would be really cool. And then every now and then there's just a fuck it, like we think this will be fun. Let's do this anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Bucky O'Hare was a very early example, and that's one that I really wanted to do too, because I didn't see the show as a kid, or I didn't see a lot of it, but I played the arcade game all the time. So I knew those sprites existed, and I was like, aha, we can animate those. And that's such a, Bucky O'Hare is such a, like, uber obscure character in a way.
But it's the perfect matchup for Fox McCloud.
Yes, it's such a good idea. Yeah, we're always on the lookout for those. Like, obviously, because of, I know some people have a fear that, like, Death Battle might be getting too big to do my matchup, right? Like the character I want to see isn't going to get enough views or whatnot. And I don't want people to have that mindset. Like every character is on the table. And sure, we're going to have to do, you know, those big matchups to make sure that Death Battle survives as a show as big as it is. Like when you think about it, Death Battle shouldn't be as big as it is. It's a miracle that we're able to do this, and I love it. But we're also always gonna love doing those smaller, more obscure characters, especially in the case that like it's not just that the characters are cool to explore and put in Death Battle. I love it when people talk about an episode and say, "Oh yeah, I didn't know anything about that character," and then I watched the Death Battle, and then I saw that show or comic. And I love them now. Like we got so many comments about Elfen Lied.
That's my favorite part of
Bucky about that. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I love it. And like honestly, one of the coolest moments, like and that's the thing about the show is like I know there's like this weird line we walk because we're using like other franchises characters, and so like you know we are educational, and so like anyway, it's an interesting line that luckily we haven't had to fight too much. But
we're very careful about how we treat that line.
Right.
We're extremely careful. It's another thing that's always been important to me is making sure we treat the franchises with respect, the creators with respect, and we don't step over the line into like crazy fan fiction or something offensive towards those characters or whatnot.
Right. But like there are times when since you know he mentioned Berserk, like that was one of I'm a humongous Berserk fan. I love it. It's one of my favorite anime / manga. And when we did that episode, the amount of comments or like tweets that I got, it was just like, I never watched Berserk. I've never read Berserk. I never heard about this. Like, and they got into it and it was like, yes, like, because that's what it's a celebration. Like every episode, despite the fact that we're killing one of them, is a celebration of fandom.
Oh,
you know?
we do got to move.
All right, fine.
Because we are getting close to our time. But we got a question from Mal.
My question for the Death Battle panel is that when it comes to recent anime/manga series, is it difficult in finding the right balance between presenting all the important information in an episode / not wanting to spoil any anime-only watchers who have not catched up to the manga yet?
It's a good question.
Good question.
Very good question.
Yep.
Basically, how do we deal with spoilers? Well,
hard.
if Chad hasn't seen the show or whatnot, he gets very
ruined
upset
for
when
me.
things are spoiled for him.
Yeah, happens a lot.
We had that
but,
like just in a lot of episodes. Like I can think Natsuo Ace was one where it was like there was some recent information about his character being different and like changing and stuff, and we were like it was so new we didn't want to include it in the episode, so we just kind of like we know this is a thing but don't want to ruin it for people. Like we deal with it. I think it's on a case to case basis a lot, but it is it's something we always it's like top of mind for sure.
Because there's a balance that we have to strike with. We don't want to spoil everything, but at the same time, if we don't talk about everything, people think we didn't do all the research. And so finding that balance is tricky. I think Todoroki is actually a really good example. Todoroki, it's technically a spoiler that he eventually learns to use his fire side, right? I mean, that's very early on in the story, but it's eventually a spoiler that he uses it. So of course we're going to have to talk about that because that changes his fighting style. That changes what he can bring to Death Battle. Of course, we're going to have to talk a little bit about his father and his relationship with his father because that is his entire motivation. It's related to his power. It makes sense to talk about, and it is kind of part of his arc. And having some sort of arc and presenting that to viewers creates a sense of stakes for the fight. Like if you like that character, you don't want them to lose. But we didn't go too far into his relationship with his father. We just kind of kept it a little vague.
Basically,
I think
if
that's
the
generally the best balance.
If the information that pertains to the fight can be presented without giving the whole picture, that's a spoiler. We try and do that.
Yeah. Let's go to the question from James.
Do you guys have any Death Battle ideas that you guys always wanted to do?
So many.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been
Next question.
I've been like I've been jumping down like I've wanted to do Cylons from Battlestar Galactica for ages now. I think the one that's like Cylons versus Skynet is like where I've landed, but I know that one's never gonna fucking happen. Like it's just you can't have actual army versus army death battles. We don't have that much money.
Real quick, just to make this quick, I'm gonna point to each one of you and you just say the first matchup that comes to your mind. So Sam already got his. Liam.
The very first one I ever wanted to do in the show was the last Dragonborn from Skyrim versus the Chosen Undead from Dark Souls.
Ooh. Josh.
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. I want to do Bob from Reboot versus anyone.
Chad.
I want to find a good matchup for Kenshin Himura from Samurai X / Rurouni Kenshin.
Luis.
Mega Solar versus Big O.
Me.
Yes.
Wow.
Real quick, can we do Bob from Reboot versus Lawnmower Man? Like, I feel like that fits really well.
Sure, anyone, please.
I guess mine would be, I don't even know, Vegeta versus somebody. I know Vegeta's been in a death battle before, but like that was way back then. I want to bring him back.
He's a better character now than he was before, so yeah, I think there's good reason to bring him back.
Thank you, Sean,
Especially
Jackson,
here
Mal,
soon.
and James for sending in your video questions. We are running close to out of time.
We got a little bit.
So trying to see if there's any question from
I
chat
had
or Twitter.
I grabbed a quick one from chat earlier. I think we might. StarCraft Squall asked, how long does it take for you from the time you decide on a death battle to the time the product finishes? It ranges on death battles, but I mean, a lot of times I'm going to say probably these days, like 8 to 6 months, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them take the whole year. We do have like an idea for the concept of the season finale planned before the year even begins, and it all depends on a lot of factors, honestly.
So many.
But yeah, 8 months maybe. Sure, that's probably a good general idea, general window.
Some even multiple years when we keep pushing them.
Yeah, some we've come back to every so often. That's a good question, though. All right, I do think though right now is a good time to show off one last thing before we get to wrapping up this panel. And that one last thing is a little something from our friends at Ismahawk.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Shepard. Some of you guys may recognize me. I played Nightwing in the first live-action death battle, Nightwing versus Daredevil, and I also directed it. We are here to present to you the first preview for the second live-action death battle, the Winter Soldier versus Red Hood. And we are incredibly excited to bring this to you guys. We have been working tirelessly on this one. We had an incredible team come together pre-quarantine to shoot this thing. We have been working on it since the quarantine began, so we've been really able to put in that extra little level of polish that I hope you guys appreciate. We're so excited for you guys to be able to see this one and see all the hard work our team's been putting in. It is such a fun episode. Now, before we show you the preview, just keep in mind this is just a tiny little piece of a really crazy death battle. So make sure to come back on September 20th, watch the entire thing, share it with your friends, and comb through it, man, because there are Easter eggs. And when you're done, head over to our channel, youtube.com/Ismahawk, to check out the behind the scenes, because you are gonna wanna know how we made this one, because it is epic. But you guys have heard enough talking. In the words of the almighty Boomstick, it's time for a death battle. Preview.
Bar's closed. Okay.
Woo! So cool.
Guys.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Man,
We watched
very
it many
amazing.
times.
I have watched
Over and over.
this fight over and over. I got my wife. I was like, look at this. Like, I showed like some of my very close friends, and I'm just like, this is one of the coolest things that we've ever been a part of.
Danny and Jeremy's team are so dedicated to what they do, and they're so good at it. They've been talking about doing Winter Soldier versus Red Hood, but since before we even had a working relationship with them. And I'm so glad that we were able to give them the means to make it, not just, you know, as a video, but in this way. Because, like, you know, leading up to it, everybody was talking about, are we going to have the budget for like a metal arm? Like, how cool is Red Hood really going to be, really going to look? And they were like, no. We're just going to go all out and make it as awesome as possible. And so you saw a little bit of that metal arm. Yeah, he's got the metal arm for the majority of the fight. That's just like, what, a minute of... I don't really want to say too much about it, but it's
a lot of CG.
It's a good fight.
it's a long fight. It's a long fight.
Yeah.
It goes on quite a bit.
It's meaty.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
There's so much that happens. There's so many layers to the fight too. Like, it's beautiful. And hey, we also have a brand new death battle up that is a bonus episode, which is wild. We haven't done anything like this in a long time. This episode is happening thanks to Amazon Prime Video. Actually coming to us and saying, hey, we want you guys to make a death battle about the boys. Which is like, okay, so
what a
Chad,
perfect
you know this.
pairing.
Yeah.
You know this.
It's
we've
wild
had...
when Bezos lands his helicopter and asks you to do some shit. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he just showed up.
It was him
You should do the boys. Cool.
No, but we've had sponsors like that come to us and be like, hey, we want you to make a death battle with our characters. And we've always been like, okay, we can do that, but we're gonna need like basically
creative
100%
control.
creative freedom, creative control over who wins, how we present the characters, pretty much everything. And sometimes they'll be like, no, sometimes, which automatically ends the deal right there. Sometimes they'll be like, yeah, that's fine. And then like 2 weeks down the line, some executive over there finds out about it and is like, you're going to have our characters kill each other? No. And
yeah,
then
this
shuts down.
person cannot die and cannot be shown killing someone else. I can't tell you how. Oh, so many times, and it's just like great. That was a huge waste of our time.
Did you see the title? It's literally the first word in our title. Death Battle. Yeah,
This one.
It's happened so many times, but so this is like the first time ever that a sponsor came to us. We were like, "Are you sure?" And they were like, "Yeah, just do it, man. Just do what you do best."
We're like, "All right, cool."
It was honestly really exciting because it gave us an opportunity to not just make an extra death battle, but to do something different in that we could present the death battle sort of in a different universe, with a different rule set, different structure altogether, just because of how The Boys works. If you haven't seen the series, you really should. Like,
Yes.
I
Yes.
freaking love
Oh,
the show.
speaking of which,
So good.
it was on my list to watch, and I hadn't yet. And then Ben was like, "Oh, heads up, we're doing an episode on The Boys," and I hate it when I voice a script and something gets spoiled for me. And I was like, "No!" It's like I
will win.
marathon that show,
Nice.
and oh my god, I love it so much. It is such a fun, cool,
It's
interesting
got
take
one
on
of the
superheroes.
best like hook episodes ever. Like episode
Yes.
one
Yeah.
hooks you
Yeah.
so good.
It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
Like it's just like, all right, I'm in. Like let's do this. It's very good.
Yeah, and the death battle was very much inspired by how it kind of hooks you, because it's very much got a sense of sort of that like RoboCop Starship Troopers like tongue in cheek propaganda thing going on. Like that's just the world of The Boys, which is so cool. And I very much wrote this death battle with that sort of idea in mind. In fact, an early version of this script, you'll remember this, Liam. An early version of the script even had like a scene that was almost straight out of the I'm doing my part scene from from Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah,
That's awesome.
It was like we were talking about The Boys, and we were like, if you see these people, you got to call 911 or VOT or whatever it was, and it was like, you should do it because we're doing our part or something like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of long and meandering, so it didn't make it to the final cut. But like that was the like the headspace I was in while writing it, and it was such fun to write. I really appreciated them just letting us kind of do what we wanted. It was really cool. If you have not seen season 2 yet, you really should check it out. The Boys are trying to bring down the 7 because they've all been wronged by them. The Boys are basically the heroes, and the actual superheroes are not heroes at all. You know, some of them
careful,
might be
man.
heroes.
Vot's
but...
gonna come down on us if you keep talking
shoot.
like
no. They still have stuff on us. But the Boys are trying to expose Compound V and the ways that Vought and the 7 manipulate the public to stay in power. It is a very complicated sort of setup.
It's
that the world
depressing too. Yeah.
It's a little depressing, but you know, it's fun. Like
Yes.
it's a goofy show in a certain way, but it's also like a dark humor kind of show.
Exactly. Dark
It's
humor.
violent.
That's a great way of saying it.
Yeah. And the stakes are even higher this season for the Boys in the 7 as we get deeper into the characters. This season like really digs into what they're each fighting for. A lot of them get challenged with like some of their secrets being revealed or something happening to a person that's close to them. But it's all around this focus that heroes aren't born, they're made. And because like spoilers sort of, a lot of the heroes in the show are literally born as heroes. Like that's kind of what happened and how they got to where they are.
Or are they?
But this means something very different for the 7 and the Boys. And the 7 are grappling with the notion of Compound V and what it means in terms of the atrocities committed by the 7. I don't know why we went into that
Sean
voice.
Connery.
So go ahead and watch season 2 and root for the underdog to take down the establishment. It's a really exciting show. And make sure to watch our special episode Death Battle featuring the Boys. Go to amazon.com/theboys to watch the Boys season out now. And man, so going into this, like we knew we were a little worried that like, is season 2 gonna like shake up the status quo? Are we gonna like have to spoil season 2 for everybody? And we worked very closely with Amazon to make sure that what happens in the death battle doesn't necessarily get immediately debunked by what happens in season 2. Because season 2 isn't out yet entirely when this is coming out. But we also didn't want to spoil season 2 in the death battle, so it's like this kind of balancing act. But I think it turned out really good. But Luis, you also got to animate, and you and your team, and a bunch of people in the Rooster Teeth Direct team.
We actually animated this in Toon Boom Harmony, which is a little bit different from our usual anime CC stick, and it really shows. Like if when you watch the animation, you can tell the characters are a lot more lively, a lot more expressive in the way they move and they act.
Yeah.
And it's definitely opened up my eyes into like that world of Toon Boom Harmony, and like I'm excited for what the future holds in terms of like how this death battle actually has opened up another level of like animation for us. So it's good that we got to make this. Yeah, and it was like it was just awesome to be able to work with like the characters of like the boys and the seven. Because like that series is just godlike. It's amazing. So yeah,
and it was so cool that Amazon just trusted us.
Yeah,
so cool. Like to do this, like that's crazy. Like handing over a property and letting us. I mean, obviously, like there's like reviews and checks and things like that, but like still, like they really did like let us have a ton of creative control and like how this goes and what we were putting together. And
can this character get killed? I guess.
Yeah. It's just like,
yes. I was actually kind of worried that the concept of Vought essentially hiring Wiz and Boomstick and having like dirt on them might be seen as us like taking a dig at Amazon for sponsoring us or whatnot. I was worried when we were pitching that idea to them that like they would look at it and go like, no, this is people will see it this way. And it was like, no, they were totally fine with it because it totally fits with the boys.
Yeah.
And man, that was my favorite thing about it. But we also because it was this bonus episode and it's such a different sort of script, we were able to kind of experiment with another idea, which is separating the post-fight analysis into its own longer video. And Liam basically took that under his wing and went ham with that script. There's so much detail in that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm seeing a lot of positive feedback about that too. Just the way, because it really gives us an opportunity to go in depth and kind of like, in a normal rundown, you got to go go fast. Yeah, exactly. You got to like, you can't ignore stuff, but you have to kind of phrase it in a way that it can't be too specific or you're using up time. So having like a separate video like that, it was really cool in this instance to kind of fit all those different calcs that we did. And go.
The people who really want to go in depth can watch that video and really go in depth. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we've one of the probably hardest things about Death Battle is being able to present an argument in a concise but also
entertaining way,
extremely efficient way.
Efficiency is the big thing.
Yeah, in order to not make the episode too long, because the way YouTube works basically is after you get to that fight, if you just leave the video after that fight and don't watch the recap, the information afterwards, it actually doesn't count as a full view. And it kind of ends up hurting the show and algorithms and whatnots. Like it's boring, stupid stuff that we shouldn't have to deal with, but we do. And so in order to make sure that the show doesn't tank, we have to like keep those analyses kind of short. But I've been kind of toying with this idea in my head of like, well, what if the analysis was just its own video? Would people like that? Would people go watch that? And so this kind of gave us an opportunity to sort of experiment a little bit and see how that works. And even the rundown itself is done in a different way. I did notice that in the live premiere, there were a lot of people that were just so confused. And I think most of it was just because the doors never came in for that second rundown. It's like, when is the second rundown going to start? And there was no second rundown. But I had a lot of fun working on the show, and I hope you guys did too.
Yes, absolutely.
So please go check it out. I really hope everybody likes it.
Yeah, that way, if it does well, we can maybe do more stuff like this.
Maybe more sponsors will trust us. Who knows?
And then we can make cooler stuff.
I do want
Hey, Amazon,
let's
do what, Marvelous Miss Maisel? That show.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
I do want to make it very clear though, because I'm sure some people might look at this and be like, "Oh, is Death Battle like gonna sell out for next year, or all the new future Death Battles gonna be like determined by the company or by other companies or whatnot?" And no. That is not the intent at all. One of the reasons why we were able to do this is because it was a bonus episode. We didn't want to necessarily have it replace one of, I guess, the main episodes we were doing for the year. We also will never do an episode of Death Battle where some company tells us that this character A has to win.
Yep,
that's
never.
just not going to happen. If Amazon had come to us and been like, Starlight has to win or Starlight can't die, if they had said that, the deal would have been off. It just wouldn't have worked. And that's just an example, but they didn't, so things worked out. But that has been our approach to these kinds of episodes in the past, and it will continue to be in the future. It's just that now we have an example of what we can do when it happens, which we haven't before. So it'll be interesting to see if this, leads to anything else in the future. But I don't know. It's also really cool that the first time we were able to pull something like this off was with a show, with a product, I guess, that we really like and that we're totally cool with shilling.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with shilling the boys. It's a really cool show. What was the call out? Go to amazon.com/theboys to watch The Boys season 2 right now. Do it. It's a really cool show. I'll say that a couple more times.
Do it.
Man, thank you all for watching that episode. If you have, it's so exciting to me. We will be having the Q&A for Winter Soldier Red Hood next week as usual. It's going to go back into the usual format, but just very excited to do this unique sort of episode. I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about with it?
Check out RTX at home. What's going on right now?
I have a random thing about The Boys. So just humor me. The recap that plays at the beginning of season 2, episode 1, that recaps season 1, is one of the best recaps I've ever seen. It is so well edited, and I just want to appreciate the editor who did that. It's amazing. From one editor to another, well done. It's incredible. It's so good.
Good show, sir.
That's all. Just a small thing. Totally inconsequential.
Great. Mr. Episode 1 editor, or Mrs. Episode 1 editor, or wherever you are, if you are listening to this podcast, thank you for doing that, and also good job.
Great job.
Yes.
Very good job.
All right. Thank you all for watching this episode of, I guess, Death Metal Cast. We'll see you all next week.
Hey.
Bye.
I was gonna